It's time to shake and wake up the world with the best biblical talk shows from all over the world gathered in one place. ShakeandWakeRadio.com, where the truth is all that matters, and the truth will set you free. ShakeandWakeRadio.com.
FOJCRadio, David and Donna Carrico, the dynamic duo of followers of Jesus Christ. Nah, we're just regular people. We're just loving and serving the Lord, and we challenge you to love and serve the Lord and learn all that you can about Him. We're preaching the gospel of the kingdom and teaching the doctrine of Christ to the whole world. And thanks again for listening to our programs, and blessings to all of you.
Turn it around to the reverse side, where you see the two great seals of the United States of America.
Yep.
Okay? Now, if you notice, it says those are supposed to be the two great seals of the United States of America, correct?
Yep.
Those aren't. Those are the two seals of the Order of the Illuminati. Now, I have all this memorized from my days in the Illuminati.
Now, this went on the dollar bill in 1935, but this reflects ancient beliefs of secret societies that go back literally before the birth of Christ. It symbolizes the ancient goal of secret societies of the establishment of what in Scripture we see in Revelation 13 as the reign of the beast and the false prophet.
Of the Great Seal, it's a very fascinating story.
I got one right here.
The Great Seal of the United States, or is it the Great Seal of the Illuminati? There's a lot more than meets the eye. Shalom and welcome everybody to Spiritual Warfare Friday. I'm your host, Dan Bidondi. Tonight, the Illuminati Subversion Masters of Deception. So we got an awesome show for you tonight. We got lots to talk about, a lot of information to dwell in here, and a lot of stuff. So anyway, welcome to Spiritual Warfare Friday. Tonight's broadcast, again, Subversion Masters of Deception. Talk about the Illuminati. And tonight's show is brought to you by ShakeandWakeRadio.com and BeforeIt'sNews.com. And also check out Esther Jade's where you transform your life with natural solutions with holistic medicine. So there's her QR code for her Facebook page. And if you want to check it out, guys, they got all kinds of cool stuff. Pain buster cream, all that stuff, that natural remedies that help you with different things. So I want to take a special moment to thank the followers of Jesus Christ Radio. It's Donna and David Carrico over at FOJCRadio.com. They carry this show here. They air it on their channel on Thursday. So what you see tonight, you're going to see there on Thursday. So please support both channels if you can. And on the YouTube channel and their Rumble channel as well. So thank you guys so much for that. So before we begin, very special verses here. And this pertains to a lot we're going to be talking about tonight. For everyone who does evil hates the light, and doesn't come to the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. And speaking of deeds and everything else, the Bible says in Ephesians 5 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of those things that which are done by them in secret. In other words, don't glorify these things, don't teach people about these things in that manner, but expose them. Expose how evil it is. You know what I mean? So, and also the scripture says in Galatians 4:16, am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And yes, absolutely. We are the enemy of the world for telling the truth. When you tell the truth, the enemy hates it. Truth could bring down billions and billions of dollars of operations. They could spend 10, 20, 30 years, 100 years planning something, billions of dollars, all this resources and all that, and just like 30 seconds of truth could literally drop the whole operation altogether. So that's how powerful truth is, and we'll talk about the truth from the gospel, the sword of truth right there. So very important to do before you do go into this subject, because it's a very dark subject we're going to go into. And these people have taken a toll on our history, guys. And like it or not, they're part of our history. They're part of European history and all over the world, just about. So they have destroyed the fundamental churches here in America. They have destroyed the mainstream media, the school system, the education system, everything around you, all the stuff around you, they have corrupted from within. And I'm talking about, what people call conspiracy, the Illuminati, which is also the Jesuits and Freemasons and everything else. So if you want to know more on the stuff, guys, if you go to FOJCRadio.com, links in the description. Awesome books here by David Carrico. I think they're $12 a piece. Real cool books, right? This one here is a Great Seal of the Illuminati, the United States, whatever the case, same thing. And its cult meanings. And this one here is the Egyptian Masonic connection, Freemasonry and the Masonic cultic connections. And this one here is how to witness to a Freemason. So, beautiful books written by David and Donna Carrico. You might want to check them out. Great resources for helping people who are in Masonry, and also to make sure you don't go into Freemasonry, too. A lot of good sources. So, we've been doing a lot of shows lately on Masonry and all that stuff. And we got a show coming up in July, with Cody Cox. He's going to be coming on the show. He used to belong to the Oddfellas. Yeah, the Oddfellas, excuse me, guys. It's crazy, man. There's people outside. So the Oddfellas, they're a group of the Masonic, they're a brotherhood of the Masonic Lodge. So he's going to be coming on. He used to be a member of that. So he's going to be coming on to expose that. He's been on IEC TV and everything else. So lots to talk about. He's going to tell, it really is. And so let's say a prayer, Lord. Lord Jesus, Yeshua Messiah, we love you with all our heart and soul, and we come before you to ask you to forgive us all individually of our sins and trespasses. And Heavenly Father, we come before you to expose the deeds of evil tonight, and we ask you to give us the divine Holy Spirit, to give us wisdom and understanding, and also to protect us as well from the forces of evil, and to help us understand your word even more, and to bring out the evil of the shadows and expose them for what it is. And we ask you for your divine knowledge, your divine help, and everything else. And we love you so much with all our hearts and souls, God. Thank you for everything, Father, you have done for us. In your mighty name we pray. And also, please protect us. There's a lot of stuff going on tonight. Got people outside driving crazy. Thunderstorms going on. Little glitches in the internet here. I pray that you bless this broadcast and keep it on. and yeah, all that good stuff. So love you so much, Father. In your mighty name, amen. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, man. We got a thunderstorm going on. The internet was glitching out a little while ago, and we got some morons out there racing the cars, whatever the case. And so a lot of stuff going on. That's how it always is. I wouldn't expect anything less, to tell you the truth. You know, it's just like that's how it is. You know what I mean? It's the enemy trying to shut you down. That's what they're doing. So they'll always find a way. Like they'll come in through the little cracks, you know, to try to shut it down or whatever, disrupt it. So yeah, let's go on with this stuff here. So, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That's John 8:32. And today we are going to give you exactly that, the truth. So, so we're going to get into subversion. Now, you got to understand this, and you really need to pay attention and follow along, because a lot of this leads to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And for a while, it might seem like I'm a little bit over the place, but here's the other thing, right? We're going to do a show exposing the Illuminati, the origins of them, the details of them. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about it. However, we're going to show you what they have done until right now, literally, and what they have done to our society. And that's, we're going to go take a walk through history from the 1700s all the way into today. We're going to go through the German Union, the Nazi Germans, right here in Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird. We're going to travel through it all, guys. And it's going to be a long show here. Well, hopefully not that long, but yeah. So subversion, right? So pay attention, because subversion is the act of subverting, the state of subverting, especially a systematic attempt to overthrow and undermine a government or a political system by persons working secretly from within. Obviously, a cause to overthrow or destruction. And a subversion is an action designed to undermine the military, economic, psychological, and political strength of moral and a governing authority. At one end of the scale, subversion may weaken government authority through extortion, bribery, and physical threats. So, yeah, so long story short, we all know the founder of this country, and yes, not all the founding fathers were Christians, whatever the case, but the majority of this country was. The country literally was established on Christian morals. That's why the Ten Commandments are all over the place at the time. The Bible was taught in school under the old Diluted Satan Act of 1647 to establish public schools here in the new land to teach people how to read and learn the Bible, right? And you learn this for hundreds of years in the classroom about the scripture. You learned the Ten Commandments. You learned about Jesus Christ in the colleges. First 120 colleges all established on the Christian Judeo principles, the Bible. You know what I mean? So, and you wouldn't know any of this today because the way society is. They completely erased all that from history. Completely. So what I'm trying to say is this country had a great start to it. That's why we were like a rock. This country was a rock, literally. And the moral fabric of this country was unbeatable. So the Illuminati couldn't have that. So they had to infect their way into this country. And first they tried to restart the revolution and all this other stuff. They failed. And they figured out, all right, how do we beat this unbeatable system? And it's just like my computer right now, your phone right now. Just say it was unbeatable, right? No virus nothing could destroy, right? Your phone, you could take a hammer to it, shoot it. It's invincible, right? Say that's what our country was, right? So they figured out the next step. All right, what do we do now? We infiltrate it. We use Frankenism, which is a German word for infiltration, right? We go into the smallest churches in the smallest towns. We go to the smallest little city halls, become members of the city hall, become members of the churches and all that stuff, and we infect it from within. And they have done that for hundreds of years in this country until what we got today. So that's Operation Subversion, which the communists did this in Russia and all that. So every time there's a political movement and an uprising in the country, like the country's on the verge of a revolution, per se, right? And this is a new version of subversion. They would infiltrate it like QAnon, that garbage on the internet. Yeah, that's a subversion tactic. That's the elite doing that. That's not no patriots or nothing like that. That's subversion. They purposely make the movement look bad, so it gives the government excuse and the public excuse to actually outlaw it, do away with it. So in the overall state, this country was literally great morals and all that, so they had to stop that. They had to subvert the country and destroy it from within the political systems, the religious systems, and the education system. The three main things, like in the media, right? 4 things. The mainstream media, right? At the time was newspapers and books and all that. And today TV, right? And you got the religious systems out there, all the churches and all that. You got the political system, two birds of the same, 2 wings of the same bird, I should say. 2 sides of the same coin, Republican, Democratic Party. Then you got the education system. with the introduction of evolution and the Big Bang Theory all came from the Jesuits and all that, which the Illuminati, whatever the case. So that's what's going on in this country. So we're going to take a little walk through history. So a lot of people think, all right, Adam Weishaupt, which we're going to get to in a minute here, was the founder of the Order of the Illuminati back in May 1st of 1776. That is true. However, okay, and actually, before we get going, Harold and Bill O'Connell, thank you guys for moderating the chat tonight. God bless you. What's up, Tim, Kim? Who else is here? Cookie Lady, what's up, sister? Kim, Wilford, and who else is here? Everybody else here. And if I miss your name, I'm sorry. DJS, what's up, man? Who else is here? Barry, what's up, man? And anybody else, thank you guys for joining the live chat. So, anyway, back to here. So, everybody thought Adam Weishaupt, which he was the creator of the Order of the Illuminati out of Bavaria, Germany, right? But it all actually started hundreds of years before him. So, this guy, they call him Saint Ignatius, which the Catholic Church has no authority to declare anybody a saint. Anybody who believes in Jesus, just want to let you know, guys, anybody that believes in Jesus Christ is automatically a saint. I'm a saint, you're a saint, we're all saints. The Bible makes that clear. You don't have to be canonized by a church to be a saint. That's not how it works. But anyway, this guy, Ignatius of Loyola, right, in the 1500s, he established the Order of the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, right, which has nothing to do with Jesus at all. And it's like the Knights Templar and all them. They use these Christian-like persona to disguise and masquerade who they really are, you know what I mean? So nobody could ever expect anything bad from these people. So, basically, he created the Order of the Illuminati back in the 1500s, right? And I forgot the Pope's name. I should have had this sort of information. But, again, we'll get into that when we get to a show about the Illuminati itself. So, he created the Order of the Illuminati. And I guess it was too revealing at the time. The Pope didn't like that. So, what he did was he created the Society of Jesus, the Jesuit Order, as a system to hide and masquerade the Illuminati. So basically, the people thought it was another sect of the Catholic Church, but within the inner circles, the Illuminati was hiding. So for hundreds of years, this was like this, right? So a lot of people started suspecting, oh, wait a minute, there's a tie between the Catholic Church and the Illuminati. And if you've seen the movie, which I don't, I'm not even going to bring that movie up, with Nicolas Cage, whatever the case, I'm not going to bring it up. I don't want to give that movie any glory. But anyway, they established the dark secret. It's a secret order, the Jesuit order, right? And within that order, they had in the inner circles that nobody knew about, which the Order of the Illuminati. So what happened over the years in that movie I'm mentioning, I should have just not mentioned it all, but anyway, they revealed that there's a connection between the papacy and the Illuminati, right? So to break those ties away. And to say, all right, we got to do something now because the Russians were onto this. The Russians were very smart. They were seeing that there's a big connection. They're coming out of Rome. Like, there's a problem here. So what they had this guy do, Adam Weishaupt, and he was a professor in canon law out of Ingolstadt University, right? Not coincidence, he was a Jesuit as well. So to break the ties away, May 1st, which is a satanic holiday of Beltane, the high satanic holiday of Beltane, May 1st of 1776, Jesuit Adam Weishaupt officially established the Bavarian Order of the Illuminati out of Bavarian, Germany. And that's where the official order came from, after that, just to break the ties away from Rome. So he ran wild with this, right? And later on, they were established by, they were financed by which is known today as the Rothschild. Baron Rothschild literally financed the Illuminati. So again, we're going to get into those detailed information when we do a show on Freemason. The same thing. Illuminati themselves. So this book here by John Robinson in 1798. This is John Robinson's book, Proof of a Conspiracy. And let me get you a picture of him here. So it's important to know who he is. So he was a British physicist and a mathematician. He was a professor in natural philosophy and precursor of the natural science at the University of Edinburgh, right? A member of the Edinburgh Philosophy Society when received its royal warrant. So, Anyway, he ended up writing a book called Proofs of a Conspiracy in 1797, right? Accusing Freemasonry of being infiltrated by Weishaupt's Order of the Illuminati. And his son was the inventor, Sir John Robinson. So, the son of Robinson's, whatever the case. Anyway, he he come across their doctrines and everything else, and he wrote this book back in 1798, which I got it here myself. It's called Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robeson, right? So if you ever get a book, buy this book. I very much encourage it. And it's like Old English a little bit, but just take your time and read it. It's a good book. And he exposes the Illuminati from within. And again, this is from 1798. Obviously ain't a original copy from them, but you get the point. Very good book to have, right? And so he was one of the first people to come out publicly exposing Freemasonry. And so, long story short, he ended up talking about later on, this when the Illuminati, again, we're going to get to the details about the Illuminati some other show, but the Illuminati, when they started coming to power, they started gaining a lot of membership in prominent places, politicians, everything else. What they did was they had to establish some form of mind control, literally brainwashing the public. So back then, the form of media back then was newspaper journalists, authors and all that. They didn't have TV and radio, obviously, you know what I mean? So that being said, they established this thing called the German Union. It started in Germany, and what it was German Union. Let me see if I get, what's right here. Now, so it says Spartacus, right? Now, Spartacus, and again, we'll get to details later. Spartacus was Adam Weissapp's name. Everybody in the Illuminati at the time, they chose a name to call themselves, a code name. Spartacus is the old name, whatever. This was to his assistant, Cato. So he said, all right, this is Proof of Conspiracy, page 114, talking about the German Union, right? Now, check this out. He says, by this plan we shall direct all mankind in this manner, and by the simplest means we shall all set in motion in the flames. The occupations must be so allotted and contrived with we may in secret influence all political transactions, and NB this alludes the part of the that's withheld from the public. So because it contained the allowance of the most rebellious and prolific occupations to several persons whose common names could not be traced. I have considered, says Spartacus, that's Adam Weishaupt, everything so prepared is order should be go day to ruin. I shall in the year reestablish it more brilliant than ever. According to it got up again about this space of time under the name of German Union, appearing in the form of reading society. So to break this down in long story short, he's saying, hey, we need to establish a form of communication to reach the public, to brainwash them, to use propaganda. So how do we do that? We start a society of writers and all that stuff to reach the public. And he goes on to say, the author says that the German Union was, to his certain knowledge, the work of the Illuminati. So the German Union was established, and again, it was authors, newspaper articles. So they wrote papers and all kinds of stuff, books and everything else that would introduce Illuminism, so to speak, into the general public. And it's like a form of mind control. It's like you little at a time, then you start putting on a heavy sauce, like Brian would say, and that would indoctrinate the public, right? So they wanted to get the public indoctrinated and also dumb them down at the same time. So what this was going on, right? This was spreading all through Europe. The Illuminati, they were taking over Masonic lodges. Now, again, we're going to get to the much greater details when we do a show about the Illuminati themselves. How they operated and all that stuff. So in 1791, there was, let me get that for exact here. Hold on a second, one second. It was, Yeah, 1782, I'm sorry. It was the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, where the Illuminati joined with the Jacobins, the Druids, and the Knights Templar, all joined within the lower ranks of Freemasonry. Now, if you watched the show last week, where we did a show on Masonry, and we exposed a little of that. So basically, within the Blue Lodge of Freemasonry, the first 3 degrees, which is predominantly Christians or whatever the case, they head within the order of Freemasonry within the Blue Lodge. So nobody could least suspect, again, like they did before, that hidden within the order of the Jesuits, now they're hiding the order of Freemasonry within the first 3 degrees. Now, not all the people in the first 3 degrees have no clue about it. It's just an inner circle concealed by that. Because the public, and we'll get to that with John Robeson says about that in a minute. Let me think my slides were a little out of order here. So, all right, yeah. Did that even come out? Hang on a second. I hate when it happens. You set the slides in order, and I think a couple of them a little awkward out of order. So, anyway, and if I get to it, I will, but I do got it in the book here. So, John Robeson warned people about this, right? And so, the Illuminati, right? And this is how they went underground, kind of. You know what I mean? They stayed in population, like because you hear in the colleges, if they teach about them, that the Illuminati stopped existing and all that stuff in 1785, and they were dismembered. No, they were not. They just went underground, literally. And so in pages 112 from the Proof of Conspiracy, John Robeson, right, he says, the great strength of our order lies in the concealment, and let it never appear in any other place on its own name, so it's not going to appear as the Illuminati anymore. It's the Illuminati, but it's not going to appear as the Illuminati. And but always covered by another name and another occupation. And none is fitter than the 3 lower degrees of Freemasonry, that's the Blue Lodge. The public is accustomed to it, expects little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it. And as next to this, the form of the Learn of Literacy Society is best suited with our purpose, which is talk about the German Union here. And had Freemasonry not existed, this cover would have not been employed. So he said, thanks to Freemasonry, they were able to go underground without problems. And it may be much more than the cover. It may be a powerful engine in our hands. By establishing reading societies and subscription libraries and taking these under the direction and supplying them through our labors, we may turn the public mind, which we will. So we just talked about the German Union, right? Which again, these societies, or reading societies, all that, to literally indoctrinate the public. So at the time, this was going on all through Europe. They were infecting Masonic lodges now all through Europe. Now, George Washington, yes, he was a Freemason and all that. A lot of the founder fathers were. We had a lot of Masonic lodges here in America. And in fact, right here in Rhode Island, we got one of the oldest and biggest lodges in the country, and right here in Rhode Island, downtown Providence. But so George Washington heard about this. So he wrote, this is in the Library of Congress if you want to go fact check it. So, hang on, let me put on my glasses. So George Washington, this is in 1798, the Reverend J.W. Schneider sent Robeson's book to George Washington. The book I just have in my hand, right? So he sent a copy of this book to George Washington on a subject, in which replied him to a letter. So George Washington replied back to him. He said, "It is not my intention to doubt this, that the doctrines of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism, the principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied at this fact than I am." And at the time, that didn't mean that he was happy about it. That means he understood it. So the idea that I mean to convey, because he goes on to explain it, nobody's truly satisfied more than I am. That the idea I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of the Freemasonry in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first, the pernicious principles of the letter, they are susceptible of separation. That's individuals of them that may have done it. And that the founder or instrument employed to found the democratic societies in the United States may have had these objects and actually had separation. And the people from the government in view too evident to be questioned. So George Washington was very aware of this stuff about the Illuminati infecting Masonic lodges here in America. So, of course, the Illuminati got their way in here, and they really pushed their way through. They started infiltrating churches. They started infiltrating like the school system and everything else, and the political, especially the political system. So, and Thomas Jefferson, we got to do a story on him. Yes, he grew up as a Christian and all that stuff, but in his latter years, he became infected with Illuminism. The Illuminati got to him. And so he wrote his own Jefferson Bible. I don't know if you all seen that Jefferson Bible. It's, let me see. It's the Bible that the presidents swear on when they get into office, right? And every president of the United States is elected as honorary Freemason. Except for John Quincy Adams, he declined that real quick. He was against it. So the Jefferson Bible, right? And he rewrote the New Testament. He literally took out what he wanted to take out. He removed the book of Revelation, claimed there was ravens from a madman. Yeah, and so when you see a president swearing on the Jefferson Bible, yeah, that's not a Christian doctrine. That's an altered doctrine. Now, yes, Thomas Jefferson was probably one of the best patriots in this country, but toward his latter days, he became infected with Illuminism. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that part. You know what I mean? So in this country, you know, we had a lot of infiltration within the political ranks and systems and all that stuff. So in the 1800s, you had this guy named Albert Pike that came along, right? So at this time, in the 1800s, now 1700s to the 1800s, they were infecting everything. We're going to get to all this here. So in 1971, an American general named Albert Pike, who had enticed into the Illuminati by Giuseppe Mazzini, completes his military blueprint for 3 world wars and various revolutions throughout the world, culminating into the movement of this great conspiracy into its final stage. So these Illuminists, they had a plan. How do we establish a new world order? How do we do that? If we even talked about this to the public, they would probably shoot us. That's yeah. So they realized how to do this, because remember I told you they tried to recreate the revolution, start the war of 1812, this, that, and the other thing, and they knew they couldn't do that. They tried to bring the New World Order by force. They tried it again in the 1900s with FDR. Yeah, and that failed miserably. So they learned eventually, yeah, we have to create the problem. It's called Hegelian dialect, order out of chaos, problem, reaction, solution. So basically, the public will not accept something, right? Like, I got to be careful what I say because of YouTube. But just they want to push the MOB, the mark, right? And most people say, yeah, take that and shove it up your behind, you know what I mean? Literally, you know. So the people wouldn't accept that. So what they would do is they create the disaster to make people, oh man, I guess we do need that because it's going to solve things. You know what I mean? So they create the disaster, the order out of chaos for people to willingly accept it. So they understood this philosophy here. So Albert Pike, and we're not going to get too much into this because it's a whole show on its own, but he wrote these letters to Giuseppe Mazzini. How are we going to stage 3 world wars? Now, he talked about the first one. It was a permit the Illuminati would overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia. And making, so basically, yeah. So, long story short, and again, this is a lot of complex to, I'm just trying to narrow it down because we'll be here all night. Albert Pike, they designed the First World War, right? And now here's the thing. After World War I, the world started to get the little smell and taste of globalism. How do they do that? Because out of World War I, guess what? They said it was the war to end all wars, right? And they created the League of Nations. It was a league that all nations were signing on to join to say we need to come together. And of course, obviously, that was not the end of all wars. So World War II, he talks about, right? Taking advantage of the differences between fascists and the political Zionists. The war must be brought about so Nazism is destroyed and the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state. So it goes on, and they, you know, of course, we know what happened in World War II, where Hitler executing 6 million Jews and everything, all that stuff, right? And it caused a big war. And here's the United States was big into Hitler. The FDR loved him and everything else. And because of the Balfour Declaration that the Rothschild presented to the crown at the time, hey, listen, if you get behind us, we'll help, because England was about to submit to, in war. They were in war with Germany. They were about to submit to Germany. You know, give up to Hitler. You know, so they told, because Hitler told them, if you submit to us, we won't bother you no more. You will stop bombing and all that stuff. So the Rothschild came to the crown at the time and say, hey, listen, it's like, if you agree to say that Israel is now a nation, well, not only you don't have to submit to Germany now, but we'll help you win the war against them. We got all the money in the world. We could do that. So, of course, they fell into that. Then, all of a sudden, they convinced the United States to join. So, the United States went into pro-Hitler, pro-Germany, pro-Nazi, instantly, overnight, into anti-Hitler, literally. And all of a sudden, now we got to save the Jewish people and everything else. And then the United States admitted, say, all right, yeah, Israel's now a nation, right? So it became a nation in 1947. And again, out of the World War II now, it introduced not just the League of Nations now, but the United Nations. And World War III must be fomented by taking advantage of differences caused by the agenda of the Illuminati. Basically, the agenda of the Illuminati between political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. And as you can see, that's going on right now. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and Muslim Arabics and political Zionism at the state of Israel mutually destroy each other. And look, if you're blind what's going on right now, this is back in 1871. Hamas, look at all that's going on in the streets in America now. You got protesters for Palestine, protesters for Israel. People going to war in the streets, going to war over there right now. And out of this chaos, guys, this war is going to come World War III. And you got Russia and Ukraine going at it, China and Japan. It's a mess out there, right? All orchestrated by these people. And no, he wasn't a psychic, nothing at all. It's just that they predicted it. I'm sorry, they didn't predict it. They planned the whole thing. It was all staged. And if you think these countries' leaders, some are innocent, they're all in on the game. They have to stage these things to push to World War III. Now, why would they want to push World War III? Why in God's name would they want to do that? To push their New World Order. Because they know out of the chaos, their order is the New World Order. So my buddy Doc Marquis, God rest his soul, he used to be in the Illuminati, right? He gave me the 5 points of the Illuminati. Now, if you know what's going on in the world right now over the last couple of years, you can see this 100% unfold, right? The priorities of the Illuminati, right, is the destruction of Christianity and all monarchical governments. You're seeing that happening now. Been happening. Number 2 is the destruction of nations such as favor of universal Unitarianism. And 3, the discouragement of patriotic and loyal effort branded as narrow-minded prejudice. And look what's going on now. Anybody who says a patriot, that's calling, they're trying to discriminate patriots. Incapable of which tenets of goodwill to all men and cry of the universal brotherhood. And 4, the abolition of family ties and the marriage by means of systematic corruption. And look, with Pride Month and everything, all this stuff going on, destroying the nuclear family. And 5, the suppression of the rights of inheritance of property. So they want to abolish private property. I mean, we could go down right down the list. And there's some other, Edith Starr Miller, I got her book, it's called Occult Theocracy in 1932, she wrote, right? The goals of the Illuminati is communism and the New World Order. And if you're not living on a rock, you can clearly see what's going on now. Where the destruction of Christianity, monarchies, nation states in favor of the world government for internationalism. So look at all these big mainstream religions right now, right? The Catholic Church always pushing for one world religion. It's Antichrist religion. The abolishing of family ties and marriages and means of promoting homosexuality, promiscuity, i.e. Pride Month, the end of the inheritance of private property and the suppression of any collective identity and spurious name of universal human brotherhood, diversity. That's what they're pushing now, right? She said this back in 1933, which is the same things as, it's the same thing. And if they're clearly doing that now. They're pushing diversity and all that. It sounds good and all. It's not. It's communism. And this is Alice Bailey. She talked about the 10-point plan to destroy Christianity, right? Now, Alice Bailey, I forgot when she lived. She was hang on a second. Just want to give you a rough idea who Alice Bailey was. All right, she was a theosophist, right? She wrote books on theosophical subjects, and the New Age. She coined the term New Age. Yeah, and her books is nothing but New Age garbage, literally. Esoteric thoughts covering up topics such as how spirituality relates to solar system, meditation, healing, spiritual psychology, and telepathy and everything else. This girl was literally a witch. Very big influence to the occult world. So her plan was to destroy Christianity, is to take God in prayer out. Hang on, let me just get the slide up on my end here, because I hate trying to read through the little picture there, because it's just like sound like a buffoon trying to read. Hang on a second, where is she here? There she is. All right, here we go. So she says to take God and prayer out of the education system. They've done that. They go up into the 1970s, 60s and 70s. For hundreds of years, God was taught in public schools. The Ten Commandments were taught. The Bible is taught in public schools, right? So they have succeeded with that, right? Now she says to reduce parental authority over children. Yeah, and that's going on now. I mean, God forbid you spank your child, you get DCF called on you. And destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure or the traditional Christian family structure. And that's what they're doing today. And if sex is free, then make abortion legal and make it easy. And they've done that. Make divorce easy and legal and free people from the concept of marriage for life. And divorce is at an all-time high. Make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle, and they have done that. Here we are in Pride Month. It's disgusting. Debase art and make run mad. Look what they've done. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all that, destroying statues and monuments and everything else. Yeah, race and history. Use media to promote and change mindsets. Now, this is what they're focusing on today, this right here. To use media to promote and change mindsets. What the means of propaganda. We're going to get into it in a minute. So, create an interfaith movement. That's what the Pope's done. The United Nations, that one world religion, the ecumenical movement. Get governments to make all these laws and to get the church to endorse these changes. And the Pope's done just that. And all these have been complete. So, before we go any further, if you haven't seen my documentary, The Great Seal of the Illuminati, which people think, oh, it's the Great Seal of the United States, right? No. The Great Seal of the Illuminati, long story short, this seal, Thomas Jefferson, was given to Thomas Jefferson by a man in a cloak, literally, because they were looking for a great seal for the United States of America. So if you look at the seal, you'll see it on the dollar bill. That didn't come on the dollar bill until about 1932, where FDR and Henry Wallace is new vice president. So you see the seal with the so-called eagle, right? It's actually a phoenix. That was on the presidential seal and all that stuff, right? So now, the one with the pyramid, this seal put here was hidden from the American public for over 200 years. So FDR and Henry Wallace put this on because they were pushing the New Deal. And it's not a coincidence that when FDR was calling for the New Deal here in America, right? Hitler, the Pope, and Mussolini were all calling for the New Order. It meant the New World Order. It's now a crown of success. And that's when, not a coincidence too, when the Federal Reserve took complete control in this country, it killed the whole Bank of the United States of America, and the Federal Reserve is now the official currency of the United States of America. It's not even federal. It's a European offshore bank. They have token oil gold and all that stuff, and they even had an order out, FDR, executive order to confiscate American citizens' gold if you owned it. And you were not allowed to have gold even though you paid for it. So that was the Illuminati's way into America. That was that. Say, hey, listen, this is now a crown of success. The Illuminati officially bought and paid for this country and took it over. So we're speaking about propaganda when we went over this here. Use media to promote and change mindsets, right? It's right over here toward the bottom. And they have done just that. Back in the 1700s and all that, when we had the German Union. Well, nothing left out of Germany. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Yeah, it died down for a while and all that stuff when Illuminati had to go underground and all that, hide within Freemasonry, but it never left. So the same German Union kept going. And of course, Hitler jumps on the board with this, and people say, oh, he was a Christian. No, he was not a Christian. He grew up as a Catholic. Okay, let's get that straight. But Hitler, in his heavy teenage years, he became very fascinated in the occult, loved the occult. So he delved into the occult big time, right? So he loved Alice Bailey. He loved Madame H.P. Blavatsky. He loved all their writings, right? He loved Theosophy. So he created his own order called Ariosophy. And Ariosophy was a mix of Theosophy, esoteric teachings, all the Middle Eastern religions, all that stuff, the occult practices. He rolled them all into one called the Ariosophy. That was the official religion of the Nazi Germans. Not Christianity, no. And the swastika is actually the seal of the Black Sun. It's from the Thule Society, because Hitler belonged to the Thule Society, which is the Society of the Black Sun, and also the Vril Society. Well, actually, that was the seal, the Black Sun. That's where the swastika came from. It means it's a Black Sun. It's a satanic, it's a cult of the Illuminati. All rolled into one, you know what I mean? And so he had this guy, we got to do a show on that again. There's so much involved. But this man, right, and same principles from the German Union and all that stuff. And now, this man is Joseph Goebbels. He was the Chancellor of the Third Reich and the Master of Illusions, they called him, right? He was the Minister of Propaganda, worked for Adolf Hitler. What he does, he come out with these, and if you've seen the old footage from World Wars, trying to discriminate Jewish people, and they were putting this stuff out in media, right? Comparing Jewish people into like rats and vermin, disgusting stuff, right? And this went into the minds of the German citizens and the Polish and all that stuff to say, hey, these Jews are bad, they're inferior and all that stuff, which is not true, you know what I mean? They're just as, we're all equal, you know what I mean? But they push this propaganda to make people believe this, right? So he come up with this line. Right, this line here, he says, if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. And you will even come to yourself to believe it. Then in other words, you end up believing it for yourself, right? And he goes, if you tell a lie big enough and keep it repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Hitler said the same thing, right? If you tell a lie big enough and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. And he goes on to say in his book, Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler, right? The best way to take control over people and control them utterly is to take a little of their freedoms at a time. And we can see that here happening here right in America. To erode rights by the thousands, tiny and almost imperceptible reductions that people don't even notice. In this way, the people will not see those rights and freedoms being removed until past the point at which the changes cannot be reversed. And if you can't see that going on right now, guys, like freedom of speech, freedom of, like gun rights, for example, right? It's like you are allowed to have whatever kind of weapon you have, whatever you need to provide for your safety, right? So over the years, they go, no, you can't have automatic weapons. Oh, you can't have this. Oh, you can't have that. So they're slowly attacking and chipping away at that Second Amendment. The Fourth Amendment as well. Yeah, you get the CIA, NASA, CIA, MS. I can't talk today, guys. All right, once again, the CIA, the FBI, all the secret services spying on you at all times. Google, the whole 9 yards, right? To slowly erode away from your freedoms. And people say, well, that's it's invasion of privacy. Oh, no, but we're keeping you safe from terrorists. And half the people buy, oh, I guess, if it keeps us safe, we'll be okay with it. No. Anybody who gives up liberty for security are going to deserve neither. That's Benjamin Franklin quote. So, and then later on, right, so they had to go the same route as the Germans did, right, here in the United States. How do we do this? And then we know eventually Germany ended up losing World War II, right? So the United States come up with a plan. How do we do this? From 1932, FDR, when he took control and all that stuff, trying to push the New World Order in this country. How are we going to get these American people who love liberty and freedom, most of them, loved God, even back in the early 1900s, how are we going to make them submit to this New World Order? Well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do the same way the German Union did it, the same way the Nazi Germans did it, through propaganda. So what they did is after the war, they launched a thing called Operation Paperclip. That's very well known. That's right on the CIA's own website in their archives, right? Operation Paperclip is basically from 1944 to 55. They literally recruited over 1,000 German scientists, and along with SS officers, which is the Secret Service intelligence, right? Hang on, let me get my slide over here because I can't read that. All right, so from 1945 to 55, Operation Paperclip granted nearly 1,000 German scientists American citizenships. Many had been longtime members of the Nazi Party and the Gestapo, who had been conducted experiments on humans at concentration camps and committed other war crimes. The scientists ended up in the United States military-industrial complex, working with the CIA, NSA, NASA, well, the whole 9 yards. And not the NSA, there was no NSA at the time, CIA, NASA, and more. And one of the Nazi experts that continued in America was mind control, known as CIA's Project MK Ultra. And me and Brian's done a show on that. So you got Herman Oberth, Arthur Rudolph, he was the NASA rocket scientist, right? And Herman Oberth there, he was a rocket scientist as well. Then you got Werner von Braun, he's like basically the father of NASA. So yes, NASA and the CIA both came from Nazi Germans. And I'm not saying today the people work there, Nazis today, but no, these agencies started with this stuff. And from the SS officers, they were the Nazi Secret Service. And they came over here as they became the Office of Strategic Service, right? So formed in June 13th of 1942, September 20th of 45, which because they end up becoming the CIA. So they started off as OSS, SS to the OSS, Office of Strategic Service. It was an intelligence agency of the United States government during World War II. The OSS was formed of an agency of a Joint Chiefs of Staff, coordinated the espionage activities behind enemy lines for all branches of the United States Armed Forces. Other OSS functions included the use of propaganda, subversion, and post-war planning. Right there. They use propaganda, subversion, and post-war planning to fool the American public. And guess who these OSS people were? They were Nazi SS officers. So they end up morphing into several other names and, shortly, and end up becoming the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. So that's where they call it the Nazi rat line. That's the CIA and NASA. And Werner von Braun, he was one of the biggest scientists from the Nazis, right? He lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and was a German engineer who played a prominent role in all aspects of rocketry and space exploration, the first in Germany and after World War II in the United States. So this guy became the father of NASA. So the whole NASA program, NASA program, the stealth technology, all that came from Germany. And they come to work here. Now what they did too is they brought other stuff here too. And again, we're focusing on propaganda today and, subversion. So they had to come up with a plan. All right, now we got our mitts in the government. Now we got our claws in the government, right? So what do we do next? All right, this is what we do next. Now we have to attack the education system. So the Rockefeller Foundation, all these cats are in the same, they all play for the same team. The Rockefellers, the Rothschild, all these people, right? They're all bloodlines of the Illuminati, right? So they had designed to keep the students dumbed down, right? The Rockefeller Foundation is the financiers of the American education system. So, and he goes, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. That was their goal. Because we had pioneers in this country. People who went to school, college, and all that. They became great pioneers, inventors, and if you look at people like I did a study on just the founding fathers. I think it was Thomas Jefferson, right? By the time the guy was 33 years old, this guy had more occupations than most people do in their lifetime. He was an inventor, a politician, a soldier, the whole nine yards. I mean, like he had tons of occupations already under his belt by the time he was 33 years old. People had vision back then. People they didn't stick to one thing. They ventured off to other things. Now today in the world, you got a person, they'll graduate high school, they'll become a mechanic and stay a mechanic for the rest of their lives. I must have had probably 40 to 50 different jobs and careers because I just wanted to learn more and, practice all these things. I mean, like be a jack of all trades, I mean? That was how Americans were back then. Now today it's just like, I'm just going to go to hairdressing school. It's all going to know for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying, and there's no venturing off. So the education system had a big part of this because they want you to focus just on your job and all that. Don't pay attention to the world out there, with the politics going on and all that stuff. Don't pay attention to that. We got you. So you just stay, earning your money and, just living your life like that. Don't worry about it. And that's a bad way to do. So John D. Rockefeller created the General Education Board in 1903 to dispense the Rockefeller funds to education. And he says, we are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept it, the New World Order. And Robert Emanuel said, too, don't ever let a crisis go to waste, a good crisis go to waste. So, like I said, problem, reaction, solution, order, chaos. They need the right crisis to stage a New World Order. And we're at that doorstep now with the whole wars going on with Israel and Hamas and all this stuff going on. The 3 world wars, whatever, but the education system was taken over by the Rockefellers, and right back in 1903. And not too soon after that, they started attacking religious things in school. The Bible was the first thing to taken out of school. They stopped teaching the 10 Commandments. They started taking them down off the state capitals and all that. They literally ripped God out of school. And I remember going to school when I was a kid in the 80s, and we had a moment of silence, a prayer. That stopped. And now today we're lucky to even do the Pledge of Allegiance. You know what I mean? So they had their way in American schools, and they really got the claws in American education to systematically dumb down the population. Again, Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of free thinkers. I want a nation of workers. So this guy, this journalist, H.L. Mencken, back at the time, he said, the aim of public education is not to spread enlightenment at all. It is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same safe level, to breed and to train a standardized citizenry, to put down dissent and originality. So this guy here tried to warn... Is it the same one? He tried to warn people of what's going on in the education system. One of the first whistleblowers, trying to warn people about the infiltration of these people with the education system. Oh, I think that's all I had for that. All right, yeah. So anyway, Henry Louis Mencken, known as H.L. Mencken, right, was a prolific American journalist, essayist, satirist, and cultural critic. Born in September 12th of 1880. So he grew up in the early 1900s in Baltimore, Maryland. His life unfolded in an era of significant social and political change, including the tumultuous early 20th century marked by World War I, the Great Depression, the Roaring '20s, and so on. So he was very witty, an exclusive commentary in illuminating the complexities of the human condition, society, and politics. So he warned people about the Rockefellers, literally, about what's going on in the education system. They're turning people into a bunch of just standardized citizens that just breathe, go to work, and like robots. That's it. To dumb down the population. And he says the most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out for himself, and is not 100% true. Without regard to prevailing superstitions and taboos, almost inevitably he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, and intolerable. So in the 1930s, he's trying to warn people what's going on. He was a whistleblower back then about the government, the education system being taken over. So now they had their whole myths in the education system, right? We all could see that, all right? And we can get into where's my slides on? All right, hold on a second, guys. I think my slides are all messed up here because I'm not even done with that part. I hate when it happens. Hold on, bear with me a second. Where is my slides on? Oh, okay, that's coming up. So, all right, let me. I jumped ahead of myself. So we're gonna get back to that in a minute. The education, the education and the churches and all that. So basically, the education system was hijacked. All right. So later on, the next step they had to do is again like the German Union, right? They had to infiltrate the media. Remember the German Union, right? What we talked about? So they had to do this, okay, here in America. So how do you do that? You take control of all the mainstream media at the time, TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, publishers, right? They have done that, right? So this is also on the CIA's website. You go see it for yourself, Operation Mockingbird, where they bragged that they took control of the mainstream media at the time, the 6 general media outlets, right? Fox, CNN, the whole nine. Yeah, it's both sides of the same coin. What they do is they put their people in power as editors-in-chiefs and all that stuff to control what goes out to the public. Now, understand, right? You got them, just say, we'll use Fox, for example, right? You got Fox News, the big contra Fox News, right? CNN, too. But under them, there's the hundreds, if not thousands, of affiliates that they belong to. So all these small little media outlets in your own hometown and all that stuff, they're not, I'm not saying they're all in on it, you know what I mean? But what they do is they'll report anything. A small media outlet will report anything. So what makes it to the big outlets, right? So basically the big outlets like Fox, right? They'll cherry pick. They'll go through all the Fox affiliates all over the country. They'll look for that one story that can make a national news. Same thing with CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, whatever the case, right? Then they'll highlight it, right? So the small media will report almost anything. And you ask, why isn't this mainstream media? Because they control it that way. Because the CIA infiltrated the media, so they put the heads, editors-in-chiefs, the ones who control what goes out to the public, they put them in charge. And they oversee what goes out to the public. That's why you're never going to see 100% truth out to the public. And people got to be mad at me for saying this, but yeah, Fox is on it too. If you think Fox is better than CNN or CNN is better than Fox, you fell for the deception. They're two sides of the same coin. Plain and simple. Right-wing media, left-wing media, there's no choice. You fall for the great deception. And we can get into the political side of this, guys. They completely took control of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Why do you think when you go to vote, right? When you go to vote for a president, what are you seeing? Like this year, you're going to see Biden, you're going to see Trump, and maybe a Libertarian, if you're lucky. But you're not going to see any of the independents at all that are literally, legitly on the ballot. You're not going to see any of them. And that's wrong. That's against election laws. But they don't care. And for some reason, people say, well, if you run for president, you'd be independent. Sure, you could probably get every vote in the country if you want, but the electoral votes that decide it. And I can't say too much because of YouTube, whatever the case, but yeah. So they control the whole thing. If they get the top Republican in, top Democrat, they've won. Doesn't matter what happens after that. And back to the meeting, they've done that. And George Washington won in his farewell address to stay away from political parties because he's seen how the two-party major system destroyed half of Europe. And he's seen that coming here. Then later on, the Republican Party came, then the Democratic Party. They established their own parties afterwards and created this illusion of choice, the red and blue brand. It's like Pepsi and Coke, Burger King and McDonald's. It's illusion of choice. Yeah, plain and simple. So Operation Mockingbird is basically the CIA infiltrated all the media and took control of it. So they completely control what goes on. And it was what's his name now? Ben Swan and Amber Lyon. They were two big mainstream media reporters. I got to meet them when I worked for InfoWars, and they ended up going off on their own because they covered a lot of stuff in the Gulf War. A lot of truth that nobody was covering. So they would have these 10, 15-minute reports, like just really nailing down what's going on in there, right? So the editors-in-chiefs, they would cut it down to 30 seconds to a minute and take it way out of context. And because it went against their sponsors, it went against the agenda for war and all that stuff. So that's just some examples there. So they control what goes out to the general public, just like the German Union did. And they got all the little magazines and all the little affiliations and all that, all part of it now, especially nowadays. So you don't know where the truth's coming from. And that's why they're trying to shut people like us down. To try to push this propaganda on us. Propaganda and subversion through the media. And sure, like Fox will act like they're on your side, but they're not. And that's why they kick people like Tucker Carlson off because, and they would have had him gone a long time ago, but they would have got destroyed because of the ratings. At the time, Tucker Carlson was the only one keeping Fox alive. So that's why they let him go eventually. Hang on a second. So Operation Mockingbird, if you actually Google it, you can see right from the CIA's own website, they brag about this. And actually, if you want to take a little closer look at that, you can do that. It was a Project Mockingbird. A telephone intercept activity was conducted between 1963 and targeted two Washington-based newsmen who, at the time, been publishing newspaper articles based on frequent quoting classified material of this agency, and others included top secret special. So that was the CIA. So they used this excuse. This was the excuse they used to infiltrate the media because they said there was journalists giving out top secret information over the public. Like the agency and others, including top secret and special intelligence, CIA and all that, right? So they had to take control of the media, and that's the excuse they used to take control of the media. We did a whole show on this before. So that's how they got their foot in the door It was a CIA tapping operation. And it was initiated by JFK. And again, if you understand what happened, right? Because JFK was told by his Joint Chiefs and intelligence that, hey, listen, there's people who work for our media that are giving away secrets, and the enemy at the time, you know what I mean, with Cuba and all that, in Russia and all that. So we need to stop them. So, of course, JFK says, yeah, all right, let's shut them up because they were giving out secrets. You know what I mean? So they used that, and it was a ploy just to get into the mainstream media. It had nothing to do with any of that. That was just an excuse to get in there, to get their feet in the door. And once the CIA got their feet in the door, that was it. That was it, completely. And they completely took control of all the American media, especially right now as we speak. And anybody who's been following me with InfoWars and all that, you see my work with the Boston Marathon bombing and things like that. Yeah, we exposed the truth and we got holy hell from it. And we got threats from federal agencies, everything else over at InfoWars. And yeah, because we actually infiltrated the mainstream media and brought the truth out to the entire world, literally. It was awesome. So David Rockefeller's memoirs, right? This is how tight the media is. So he quotes, right? Let me see if... So David Rockefeller quotes in his memoirs, right? And we're going to get to the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, which is two literally Illuminati globalist front groups. So the bottom quote here says, "We are grateful for the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promise of discretion for almost 40 years. So 40 years these reporters came to these meetings and kept quiet. Didn't tell the public what was going on. And he says it would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supernaturality of sovereignty and intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable in a national order determination practice in this past centuries." So David Rockefeller and his Trilateral Commission, these are globalist meetings. These people from the press are supposed to report what's going on in there to the people. Because any public meeting, and there's politicians, anywhere it's what's it called, I forgot what act it's called, man, the Logan Act in the Constitution, where any time a politician meets, they can't do it in secret. It has to be talked about in the press and all that. So the press were going to these meetings with these politicians and all that, and they all swore an oath of discretionary. So the media kept quiet. So basically what he's saying, okay, David Rockefeller and the Trilateral Commission, they were discussing plans for a new world order, a global government. And the Washington Post, New York Times, which is all Operation Mockingbird controlled, Time Magazine, all that, all kept quiet. For 40 years, didn't tell the public what was going on in these meetings. That's treason. And top members even today's world that belong to the Trilateral Commission in the Congress and Senate and everything else, Republicans and Democrats. That's the Trilateral Commission. Now, here's where it gets a little deep. So, yes, the Trilateral Commission, we're going to get to the Council on Foreign Relations. So, these are two strong arms of a government, right? Basically, they were communist groups set up. The United Nations, by the way, was created by the Kremlin Pratt House in New York City by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Zabinski. They created it's called the Pratt House. It was a communist Pratt House. And that's what formed from the League of Nations to the United Nations. That's why the UN's in New York. Not a coincidence, right? So the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, they are literally political groups of the Illuminati. And that's the best way I can say it. So it's not a coincidence. Take a look at that symbol for a minute, right? Looks like a recycling symbol. Or what is that, right? It's actually a whirlwind. Now this goes deep. So this guy here, and this is the Tematra, I can't pronounce that right. But anyway, this is supposed to be Enoch in his cube. Right? So they believe Enoch became Metatron, which is not true. This is Kabbalah garbage. And like I told you in the shows in the past we talked about, Masonic and Illuminati, their religion is Kabbalah. They believe God is an androgynous God. He's both Satan and God at the same time. All that garbage. They blaspheme the Holy Spirit, and they completely take Jesus way out of concept, right? So they believe not only Metatron is Enoch, but also Jesus too. They're all the same people, which is not true. But this is what they believe, right? So Enoch, to them, Metatron was the angel in the whirlwind. Now, there's a book called Angel in the Whirlwind, Metatron, right? Complete Kabbalistic garbage. And it says Metatron, the false Christ, the Book of Enoch, and Jubilee. So this guy's actually exposing it here. So Metatron, the other Jesus, they're saying, right? It says the Metatron, the false Christ, the Book of Enoch and Jubilees, and the Babylonian Talmud mentions Metatron in 2 other places. So it describes his parody of duties and the prince of this world, basically Satan, you know what I mean? So Metatron is not, and they believe Metatron became an archangel. Now, we could do a whole show on that one time, the angel in the whirlwind. Now, you heard George Bush, one of his famous speeches, he was talking about angel in the whirlwind, 1,000 points of illumination. Yeah, take a wild gander what he was talking about. Yeah, the Illuminati. So they believe that Jesus and Metatron are the same thing, which is blasphemy. The angel in the whirlwind. So that's why that symbol is used, and we could talk about that too sometime. Enoch in the... Hang on a second, let me see if I can grab this up online quick. So Enoch in this cube, right? Exploring sacred geometry. That's where it comes from. So geometry goes in with Freemasonry and everything else, and they believe he was also an archangel. Had 72 wings, feathers on his wings, I mean, whatever the case. And yeah, complete garbage. And they take biblical scripture and twist it. Now, they try to get the stuff Enoch. Now, Enoch, right, Noah's great-grandfather, son from Adam, not the evil one, the good one, right? So they take him and completely twist him around. Right? That's what they do in the Talmud, in the Kabbalah. So anyway, that's what they believe. That's what they believe. That's why they purposely chose for the Trilateral Commission is the angel in the whirlwind symbol. And it goes deeper too. So you got the Council on Foreign Relations, right? And it's kind of funny, the Council on Foreign Relations, it's a very powerful organization. Now, years ago, this woman, Gina Raimondo, she's Biden's press, was she Secretary of Commerce, I believe? So she was our governor for 2 terms, unfortunately. So when she first ran for governor, she was a state treasurer, and she stole like hundreds of millions of dollars, a lot of pensions and everything else. I thought this woman was going to jail, but she ended up running for governor. I'm like, no way in heck she's going to win. And all of a sudden, and I'm like, I thought she was just like, yeah, she doesn't got a chance in hell, right? So during her campaign, she had both Obamas come here, Michael, I should say, and Obama come here. She had the Pope come here. Both Clintons come here. She's best friends with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. This little old woman from an hour. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I took a wild guess, okay, about this woman. Did some research on her. She's a Rhodes Scholar. Very good friends with the Clintons, right? And also a member, and I went into the Council on Foreign Relations with us, right? She's a registered member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And I'm like, yep. And I told everybody, she's going to win this election. Oh, no way, because you had some prominent people in the election. Nobody thought she had a chance. And I told people she's going to win because she's backed by the CFR. Nobody knew what that was here in Rhode Island. And I exposed it. And on her inauguration day, I actually went and confronted her about her involvement with the CFR and everything. You know what I mean? Completely ruined her inauguration. It was great. Anyway, yeah. And these people have major political power. Now, again, this is one of the strong arms of the Illuminati. These groups that design, again, both of these groups, the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, both as well, established by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski. Right? And also the Kremlin Prayer House. It's a communist organization. It's an Illuminati to bring in a new world order. That's what it's for. Their secret meetings and everything else. Now, once you take a look at the symbol, what does that look like to you? Man raising his hand on a white horse. What does that look like to you? Remember that French king, Napoleon Bonaparte? That's exactly what that is. And Napoleon Bonaparte is very, very highly revered in the Illuminati. And look at that. Every time he stood for a portrait or something, he always proudly displays his Masonic membership right there. The right hand in the jacket, as we talked about in the show last week. And he also symbolizes the white horse, the rider on the white horse. So you got these 2 strong arms of the Illuminati, right? the false Christ, basically, on the white horse. And you got Metatron, the angel in the whirlwind. Not a coincidence, right? Yeah. So there's the Illuminati for you in the political world. They have completely take control of the political spectrum in the Illuminati. Now back to the Jesuits, right? The dark secret is the Jesuit order. Now, mind you, if you just joined the broadcast, the Illuminati came from the Jesuit order. That's where it originated from. It hid within the Jesuit order for hundreds of years. And now what they've done is they have merged into the churches here in America. Now back then, when this country started, there was no Catholic church, there was no Jewish synagogues, there was no Muslim mosque and all that. You had domination of Christianity. You know, like Baptists, the Puritans, Quakers and all that. It was dominant Christianity in this country. We didn't have all this stuff back then, right? So, and believe it or not, the churches in America highly opposed anything to do with Rome. We didn't have Roman holidays like Easter, Christmas, and all that garbage. We didn't celebrate that because it's unbiblical. People, a 12-year-old knew the Bible better than most adults today. Most pastors, believe it or not. Because of them, you know, our country being systematically dumbed down, the education system and all that stuff, yeah, unfortunately these kids are not educated no more. You know what I mean? That's how it is, you know what I mean? So anyway, now they got their hooves inside the religious sect. So the Catholic Church came here, the Jesuits come marching through, and all of a sudden just opened the gates wide open for all these other religions and denominations. And in the 1800s, you had an explosion. From the 18 to the 1900s, explosions of different sects and all that stuff of Christianity. Now you have 10,000, 40,000 different denominations of Christianity because the Illuminati did that. They sent people in, prominent people within these orders, religions, I mean, and became notable, then drew people from that church into their own church, a twisted version, right? A watered down version, right? And kept going and going, create all these sects to completely dumb down Christianity. And how they do this, we did this, we showed this on our shows exposing the Jesuits, me and Trey Harris, right? So they came here and pushed this preterism idea, a preterism view of the biblical prophecy, right? So basically, the Jesuits come up with this garbage, Vestigo Arcana Census, in 1614, right, which ended up trickling here, and it's called preterism. And if you ever heard anybody talk about this, that Jesus came back in 70 AD and all was fulfilled, we did shows on that too. That's garbage. That never happened. Because according to the prophecies in Matthew 24 and also in Revelation and everything else, most of those prophecies didn't even start happening to the early, recent centuries. So yeah, they wanted you to believe that Jesus came back in 70 AD, all was fulfilled. Yeah, it makes no sense, right? Then you ask, well, how are we still here? How is there still evil on the planet? You know what I mean? So yeah, total disregarding biblical prophecy and historical timelines. There's no history to prove at all. We can write up, we could look up history to prove all the biblical stuff, but you can't prove it with the preterism. So they come up with this idea it conflicts the minds of the Christians in the country, right? And Europe as well. They did the same thing, right? So then they had Manuel Lacunza, right? So this guy here, the Society of Jesuits, in 1747, he came up with this idea, right? Wrote the founding text on the pre-tribulation rapture line. And now, what is that? Almost every Christian church teaches that. Hands up, everybody. We're going home anytime soon. Oh, we're not going to be here for none of the Antichrist stuff. We're not going to be here for the mark of the beast. We're not going to be here for the tribulation and all that because we're going to be raptured first. That's where that came from. It's a lie. Matthew 24 says, those who endure to the end shall be saved. And he says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun, moon go dark, the stars are going to fall from heaven. Then Jesus comes through the clouds with great wonder and power. Then he sends his angels to all 400 corners of the earth to redeem his people. That's what you call a rapture, right? Yeah, that's after the tribulation. But this clown here decided, we're going to say it's before the tribulation. What did this do to the American churches? When it finally trickled over here in the late 1800s, early 1900s, what did this do to the churches out there? Think about that for a minute. They made them weak and pathetic. And you don't have the God-fearing Christian no more. Oh, we're not going to be here for none of that. And I've been in churches, I try to tell them, people in the churches, hey, what's going on in the world? I got told, Dan, don't worry about that. We're not going to be here for none of that. Don't let it bother you. I said, it's not bothering me. And yes, we are going to be here for that because the Bible says that. If you think for 1 minute, right, the apostles, you seen how they died, right? And persecuted and everything else. You think for 1 minute, if Jesus and God did not let the apostles escape that, right? What makes you think he's going to let you escape it? Because he says, those who endure to the end shall be saved. But in the doctrines in the churches today, they say, no, well, we're going to be raptured before that. That came from the Illuminati to dumb down the churches. And look how bad it's done. They made them weak as well. Then you had this clown here. Now, he wasn't a Jesuit, but he was backed by the Jesuits. John Nelson Darby and Cyrus Scofield, right? So, the father of dispensationalism. Now, this guy is a clown altogether, right? Yeah, preached the once saved, always saved, the 10 Commandments are no longer valid, and also the pre-tribulation rapture. He actually spearheaded the pre-tribulation rapture. So if you ask how this garbage got here in American churches, well, thanks to this man right here, and also Cyrus Scofield, and also John Calvin as well. These guys are the ones who got this dispensationalist garbage from the Jesuits into the United States here, and in fact, it completely destroyed the churches here in America. Completely. Now, if you go into a mainstream church out there, you'd be like, oh, damn, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, you better pay attention because just about everything that's taught in those churches is a lie. And it's to dumb down the churches. And you know how many Christians literally think they can do whatever the hell they want? And they're going to heaven? Oh, I'm saved by grace. I can do what I want. And not knowing that grace is not a free pass to sin. Yes, the law doesn't save you. You'll be condemned by the law. But it doesn't say the laws are abolished. These people saying the laws are abolished. They're saying the 10 Commandments are no longer valid. They're saying you could do whatever you want and you're going to heaven no matter what. Once saved, always saved. That is not true. That's not what the Bible says. But clowns like this, false teachers like this, are the cause of this confusion. All pushed by the Illuminati and the Jesuits, which is the same one and the same. And this really aggravates me, man. In the very thought, okay, of some clown, okay, and I'm trying to be nice about it, coming up to you to say, oh, the 10 Commandments are no longer valid. Oh, really? Who said that? Who told you that? Oh, the church said because of grace and all that stuff. Oh, didn't Paul say? And they take Paul out of context all the time. And I just, I'm doing books of Paul right now. I just got done with Galatians, whatever the case. And so Paul never said the laws are abolished. Because he said, do we make void of the law? He goes, no, God forbid. The grace is not a free pass to sin. But because of this garbage, they have systematically dumbed down the Christian church. And also pushing that Jesuit garbage, the big one. Oh, the Sabbath, the Sabbath is Sunday now. No, it's not. Oh, it's the Lord's Day. No, the Lord's Day is not Sunday. Never was, never will be. The Lord's Day is the Sabbath, the seventh day, Saturday. But they push it, and they justify them going to church on Sunday. Completely disregarding the Sabbath. Because, they all met at the tomb. That's a big excuse, right? The biggest excuse. Oh, if you read in Matthew, they all met at the tomb on the first day, after the resurrection. Yeah, they did. And your point? Well, they met at the tomb. Yeah, did this become a weekly ritual? Did it say, Jesus or Paul, anybody say the Sabbath's been changed? No. Did they meet every Sunday after that? No. That was at one time. That's it. And you think the fourth commandment, okay, to keep the Sabbath holy, you think if there was change or abolish, you think there'd be a big write-up about it, right? No. Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. And Paul goes on in Hebrews chapter 4, right? 1 through 10. He says, the seventh day, he's actually reciting from Genesis chapter 2. Seventh day is the rest in him. The Father. And he goes on to say, if there was another day, we would have told you so. And he said, the Sabbath's made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Now, people misinterpret that all the time. Plain and simple. It means God set the Sabbath. You fit your schedule to him. It doesn't mean when you decide to take the Sabbath day off. No, that's not how it works. It's like a job, right? You go to a job at school. Your boss gives you a schedule. Your counselor gives you a schedule, right? You don't make your schedule. You're going to go according to their schedule. Now, same thing with God, right? He sets the days apart. The feast, which is not Easter, Christmas, the biblical feast, and the Sabbath. He makes those days. It's not up to you to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to take Tuesday as a Sabbath. God knows my heart. No, that's not how it works. Because of these dumbed-down churches today, and this garbage, this Jesuit Illuminati garbage, people are dumb. to the scriptures. And they'll take scripture way out of context. And even before you start questioning it and stop pointing out these scriptures wrong, they'll quote this one, they'll quote that one, they'll quote the Pope, they'll quote a bunch of saints, they'll quote this clown. They'll quote all these people, but yet the scripture, no, they won't even touch it. Take Bible verses out of context. And it gets worse. So this, going back to the education system a little, right? The Jesuits, right? Pierre Teilhard Chardin. So we know with the evolution, right? He was a key pusher of the theory of evolution. So we all heard of Charles Darwin, right? Charles Darwin and his family, they were all into the occult. They were Masons, right? But it doesn't matter. Even Charles Darwin himself said this is not science. It's just a theory. And for some reason, when it comes to evolution, people think theory means fact. But everything else, theory means just a theory, right? No, it's just a theory. He said, unless you can demonstrate it in a lab or observe it, it's not science. And if you look at, actually, I'm going to point that out, right? The definition of science, right? Observe and demonstrate, experimental, right? So to observe and demonstrate. So if you want to see if the fact that water freezes at 32 degrees, right? You do multiple tests at 32 degrees, and you see it freeze, right? So you can observe and demonstrate that. You can't do that with evolution. You can't. So after Charles Darwin, right? This clown and British paleontologist Charles Dawson, they spearheaded evolution and pushed it to the mainstream media. And they come up with the Piltdown Man, the fake, which is a hoax. They took a monkey's jawbone, filed it to fit the human skull, buried a couple of them, and called the press, this is the proof. Because at the time, the education system wanted nothing to do with evolution. It was a joke. Even the scientific community, it's like, yeah, it's not science. Get out of here with that stuff. So they literally staged this massive hoax. The Piltdown Man. And also Lucy, too, is a big hoax, too. They staged these hoaxes, and all of a sudden, the scientific community had no choice. And plus the funding now they'd be getting threatened funding. From the Rockefeller Foundation, you're going to accept the evolution doctrine or you're going to lose your funding. And they say most scientists support evolution. No, they don't. They have to say that because they'll lose their funding. They'll get kicked out of the schools and the universities. It's all a systematic idea by the Jesuits to dumb down the education system. So French Jesuit priest, scientist, paleontologist, theologian, philosopher, and teacher. He was a Darwinian in the outlook and the author of several influential theological and philosophical books to push evolution. Then you had this clown, another Jesuit, ordained Roman Catholic priest, and a Jesuit too, originated the theory of expansion of the universe, 1927, originated the Big Bang theory, 1931, member of the Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences from 1936 to 1960, and he was one of the guys that come out to say that science and faith are compatible. And at this time, the evolution doctrine was getting pushed into the schools too. There's like a couple sentences, and then it turned to a bunch of, it ended up overtaking the school books. But he's the one to come up to say the Big Bang theory happened, right? And now, anybody that thinks the Big Bang theory happened, and a lot of people out there that believe, say, well, it's evolution, the Big Bang theory is all supported scripturally. No, it's not. They say Darwin and God could coexist. No, they can't. Because if you knew anything about the scriptures, as the Bible lays out, earth was first. Then the firmament was created, from the waters. Then the sun, moon, and stars came on day 4. Now, the Big Bang theory teaches completely opposite. There was nothing in the universe, and this little dot exploded, and all the matter in the universe came, then eventually formed the galaxies, then the solar systems, then our sun, then the earth, and all that. Complete mirror image opposite what the Bible teaches. So, no, it's nothing at all, and it's not even science, to tell you the truth. Because a scientist will tell you, to make the cell phone right, you need an architect, you need a blueprint to make this work perfectly. It's not by chance. So they want you to believe this here needs a grand architect, right? And that. But everything in the universe, well, the firmament, I should say, is all here by chance. Yeah. So that's where this stuff came from, to dumb down the education system. Nothing to do with God at all. And he was the father of the Big Bang theory lie. George Lemaitre. So this is George Lemaitre's the Belgian Jesuit Roman Catholic priest who proposed a Big Bang Theory in 1927. And Pope in Lemaitre's time, Pope Pius XII, was delighted that the Catholic priest had conceived a scientifically valid creation story of the universe, even though it had nothing to do with the scriptures. And it doesn't. And I can't believe there's Christians out there that defend this. That's not. You know, we got I think it was a professor on Brown University here in Rhode Island. He was trying to defend evolution and the Big Bang Theory as biblical. It's not. Not at all. So now, we get more into the churches here. So what needed to be done? So now there is, if you're familiar with the IRS, the Tax Revenue Service, whatever the case, right? So when they get donations at the churches, so because it's a corporation, that's what a church is, right? And so the IRS end up stepping in the churches because the thing is they're protected by the First Amendment. We have a donation page in our, by the way, if you haven't noticed in the chat room there, we do have a donation page, which is not 501c3. We do have a donation page. And if you want to donate, that's great. We got a PayPal, Venmo, CashApp, and a Ko-Fi site, whatever the case. But yeah, it's in the links and description. But yeah, we take donations of that to support this ministry, right? But however, you don't need a 501c3 because we're protected by the First Amendment, freedom of religion. But what the IRS ended up doing to these major big ministries and churches, they created a little tax exempt status called 501c3. Now, I mean, if you get into the numerology stuff, and I don't really play too much into that, but if you look at 501, right, 501, 5 plus 0 plus 1 is 6, right? C and 3, which is 666. This is mainly for the churches. But yeah, that's another story altogether. So the IRS created this 501c3 to systematically go after the churches. They say, all right, you listen, we'll make a deal with you. And you have to follow this stamp, you know, the procedures. We'll give you tax exemption, which they already have tax exemption because of the First Amendment, but they try to push that authority, right? We'll give you tax exemption. We don't have to pay taxes. And we'll give you grants and all that stuff, right? But you have to be under our contract. So you need to ask your churches out there if they're a 501c3. And if they are, you really need to depart from them. Because they're told the churches that, yeah, you listen, you can't down talk the government. And if the government wants you to do something, you do it. That's why during the last couple of years, can't mention what it was, they shut the churches down. And a lot of churches didn't resist it. Even though they had the authority to resist it, even Trump said, you don't have to shut down. It's the First Amendment right. But they shut down because they're in compliance with the 501c3. That's why they did it. So this was another way for them to get their hooks, the Illuminati, their hooks into the churches again. It's a 501c3 church and ministry exemption. So what they did is they corrupted into the churches, guys, and they really did a number on the churches. Oh, man, did they ever. And, yeah, they push all the dispensational garbage and all that stuff. And I'm just narrating, like, bullet points of all these things, guys. We could do shows on each subject altogether. And I'm just trying to give you a general overall idea of what's going on. So it wasn't only that. It wasn't only here in the United States. It was over in England and all the major countries, too. Then they started popping out. You know, we had the King James Version of the Bible, the English versions, and all that, Geneva and all that. Then over the course of the 1800s, 1900s, and all that, especially 1900s, mysteriously, all these new translations started popping off. NIV, GNB, ABC, 1, 2, 3, New World Bible, yeah, all these started popping off by all these print companies. Completely altered scripture. Now, we'll take the NIV, for example, right? That's the leading one, literally, the Deception Bible. They took thousands of words away, hundreds of verses, completely gone. Then they'll defend, oh, no, the verses are still there. They're in the footnotes. Why are they in the footnotes, knowing that most people are not going to read the footnotes? Why don't you just leave it alone? But, oh, yeah, they're in the footnotes. They're not supposed to be in the footnotes. They're supposed to be there. Then, not only that, they go into key important words. They change or remove or edit, whatever the case, the key important words. Like we're getting, Mark of the Beast, right? And the King James, Geneva, all the way back to the original, right? It says it goes in your right hand, in your forehead, right? And this is just one of many instances. and you'll hear me say this a lot, but the New King James all the way up says on. That one letter, I-N-O, could literally mean your soul. No, it's not on your right hand or on your forehead, it's in. Big difference. And but that's what they've done to the Bibles. And all the time in the Christian forum chat rooms, you see people quoting the NIV Bible, the New Living Translation, New World Translation, all that. I think the Mormons use the New World Translation, if I'm not mistaken. And the Living Bible, the New English Bible, all these are corrupted Bibles. They're nothing but good for toilet paper. Because, and people say, well, it's a big deal. It's a couple of words. It's a big deal. Like I'm doing my Bible series videos. I just got up, started in Matthew, and now I'm in, just finished with Galatians. And we're still going on all the way to Revelation and all that stuff. And so I explain, if you don't know what a word means, it's going to change the whole outcome of the scripture. When you do a Bible study, right, it's supposed to be taking your time. If you don't know what a certain word means, stop where you are, go look it up. And look up the biblical meaning, not the regular meaning, because it changes over the centuries. And look it up and understand it, and take everything in context, because context is key. They don't do that. They take out important verses and all that, and the Illuminati's done this purposely, to water the word of God down, because they know they couldn't destroy it. They tried so many times. So again, what's the next best thing from destroying something is infecting it from within. Frankenism. And they exactly what they have done. All these garbage translations. Then Cyrus Schofield, John Nelson Darby, they come up with their own study Bible things and everything else. Yeah, and it's sickening and disgusting. It really is. What they have done in this country and all over Europe and all over the world now. And systematically dumbing down, again, the education system, the media, the churches, everything. You know what I mean? And that's what they have done. And it's not even counting the movies. The movies, the TV, the predictive programming they're putting in there to condition people for certain things. Like, condition people for a cashless society, for example. They'll have cartoons where the kids are waving their hands around on the scanner. Because they're implanted with chips and stuff like that. Because what it does is subconsciously conditions you for that, to accept that kind of a society. So the German Union we talked about, right? They've never went anywhere. Where is the German Union today? The Illuminati German Union. Right here in the United States of America. They have never went anywhere. The Illuminati never went anywhere. They were abolished. And then when we talked about the Council of Wilhelmsbad, the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, where they all merged together. The Jacobins, the Druids, the Knights Templar, the Illuminati all merged together under the ranks of Freemasonry. And all these supposedly, orders that were abolished, whatever. No, they weren't abolished. And today's colleges, if they talk about the Illuminati, they'll say they ceased to exist in 1785. They didn't exist no more. Oh, if that was the case, then why was George Washington in 1791, I think it was, 6 years later, writing a letter to this Jedediah guy, right? Writing a letter to him warning about the Illuminati infiltration, if they were abolished. And Noah's Dictionary, the Webster's Dictionary, the authors talked about the Illuminati. John Quincy Adams and all them. The Illuminati is very well influenced in this country. And the Bible says, a wicked man listens to evil lips. A liar gives ear to a destructive tongue. It's Proverbs 17:4. And lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who deal truthfully are in his delight. Proverbs 12:22. And Revelation 21:8 says, but the fearful and the unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and the whoremongers and the sorcerers, the idlers and the liars shall all have their part in the lake of fire which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Which, by the way, guys, I want you to really look at that verse for a minute. If the Ten Commandments were abolished, right? If they were, which they're not, why would Jesus say that? And you'd be like, well, why? He's not mentioning the Ten Commandments. Yeah, he is. You don't see commandments in there? Murderers, that's a sixth commandment violation. Whoremongers, that would fall under the seventh commandment, the adultery. Because he said even if you look at a girl lustfully, you're committing adultery, right? Sorcerers, that's divination and all that. Idolaters, right? What is that? That's a second commandment violation. Liars, that's a ninth commandment violation. So you're looking at what? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 commandments listed in it. So if the 10 commandments are abolished, why would that be there? Why would Jesus waste his time saying this? Because here's the idea. Yeah, the 10 commandments never went nowhere. Plain and simple. It's unbelievable, really is. So if you need to get a hold of me, guys, go to Truth Radio Show. Well, yeah, truthradioShow@outlook.com. It's my email address. So, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overall. I know it's quick, hour and 42 minutes. It's not quick, but the Illuminati Subversion Masters of Deception. And we were only scratching the surface. And every one of these little things we could went to whole shows on its own. That's how complex it is. And it goes in more and more and more into the center of the web. And I just try to lay out what has happened. Why do you think we're in a society now that's constantly lying to the public? Again, to the media, the TV, politicians lie out their rear ends. Oh, I got the red coat on. Yeah, I'm the good guy. I got the blue coat on. I'm the good guy. Yeah. And I'm going to beat you up and, take your sign because you support the blue guy. Oh, yeah? And I'm going to, dox you because you support the red brand. You know what I mean? That's what has happened. They divided people religiously, politically, everything. And that's what the Illuminati has done in this country. And you'll see it for yourselves. Come November, things are going to ramp up big time. Oh, man. You're going to see people out there when they're red or they're blue. For Trump and Biden, whatever the case, right? And ready to kill each other over 2 men that don't even know them, nor even care about them. And it's all by design. Every single bit and piece of it. And how do you... all right, let me give you a clue. I've been a professional wrestler. 30 years, actually. Past May has been 30 years since I've been a professional wrestler. And I'm still going, thank the Lord. All right, so in the professional wrestling world, right, we use a thing called ring psychology. If you're a good guy, you play the role as a babyface, and the heel is a bad guy, obviously, right? So how do you make somebody look like a hero? Think about this for a minute, right? A good guy wins. Yeah, it's like everybody's like happy, right? But if the bad guy constantly cheats, and every time there's a hope, they call it a false hope in wrestling, right? When you build up the crowd, it's called a false hope, and the bad guy cuts them down, right? This happens in politics. And what it does, it gets the people agitated, on the verge that they're ready to pop through that barrier and start a riot. And that's playing psychology games with the people, right? That's how they do it in politics. So if you can see what's going on, okay, Trump indictments, this and that and the other stuff, all this stuff on Trump, right? Every time he gets up in the polls, boom, they do something to try to shut it down, right? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, he's going to go to jail. He's not going to jail. And I almost mark my words, come this election, Trump's going to be the president again. Now people say, oh, that's great and all that stuff. Well, it might be great for somewhat, yeah. And yeah, he had great policies. I voted for the guy. But you need to understand, guys, he could be honest, he could be genuine all he wants. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. But it's the system that backs him that's not honest or genuine. Every time, if you notice, right, remember when Trump first won? Hillary, everybody knows. I mean, I even voted for Trump. I thought Hillary was going to waltz right in. Everybody thought this. This country was on the verge of a revolution. And every time this happens in history, they put the other person in to quell people. And this is done by design. Because when you're quelled, you get your feet up on the desk. Oh, yeah, everything's great. That's when you get hit hardest. Right now, yeah, you got Biden all threatening, gun rights, freedom of speech, this, that, and the other thing, right? Yeah. But when Trump was in, and how many patriots did I know, too, they put their feet up on the desk. Oh, this is great. Yeah, letting their guard down. And what happened when they let their guard down? You can see all the tyranny that happened that came along with it. It's going to happen again because this country's on the verge of a revolution. They know it. And to quell that, you put the other guy in. And regardless if he's genuine or not, I'm not judging the man's heart, but it's the system that controls him. That's what happens. You know, and so you watching, and if not, whatever. That's whatever they plan, and they control the elections, guys. They control everything. Everything they do, it's all by design of some sort. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of liars. Is right, Brian. Yeah, you're right, Brian. And yeah, Tim says, be in the world, but not of the world. That includes politics and systems, yep. Yeah, and we have a completely different kingdom. And it's a shame, too. You look at, people who, like, literally worship Trump, too. And same thing with Biden. It's no different. I go to both rallies, what I did for a while as a reporter. I went to the Trump stuff. I went to the Biden stuff. Even when, what's his name, in New York tried to run for president, too. I've been to all the president things, right, here in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. All these rallies and everything. And it's all the same stuff. And it's same exact stuff, red or blue. Take your choice. Same things. Same systematic corruption and everything else. And then the media goes right along with it. They play along with it. And it's all done by design. You know what I mean? And people just can't see that. You can't tell them that. Man, come November, they're going to parade around with their red hats or their blue hats. And no matter how much biblical scripture you give them, how much truth you give them, they're still going to do it. And it's going to be the same thing back and forth. And back to the right to the blue, red to the blue, red to the blue, red to the blue. Nothing ever will change. It's done that way conveniently. And it's called a royal arch, right? So basically, you got two pillars leaning against each other. You got the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, yeah, and the people down here, they don't see that. They see this. They see two illusion of choice. They don't see at the top how it connects above the clouds. I'm just trying to paraphrase what I'm trying to say here. How they lean on each other, because without the other, they'll crumble. They need each other equally to support their system. They're two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same coin. Now, yeah, granted, and I'm not saying, okay, you got to understand this. Don't take my words out of context. In the Republican Party, at the lower levels, in the Democratic Party at the lower levels, the state and city and all that, even some federal, there are very good, honest people in these parties. I know a lot of them. I work with these people and, help them out and all that. They're very good people. They're Christians and everything else, right? It doesn't mean the whole party's good. It's the people at the top that control it. So the people who run your town, you're like your city councilman or your state senator or state whatever, doesn't mean they're part of the system. Some are, yeah, but not all of them. It doesn't mean every Republican, Democrat are evil people. And I support both Republicans and Democrats who are good people, who are honest and stick to the Constitution. But it's not about that. They want the control of the people who don't, Republicans and Democrats who disregard the Constitution. That's who they control. Because in the Republican Party, you got the rhinos, the far right communist people, right? Then the left, the Democratic Party, you got the far left, the progressives. Those are the problems in the parties. Not the regular Democrat, not the regular Republican on the lower levels. You know what I mean? So just don't take my words out of context, as I was trying to say. So if you've got a friend who's running in your district for a senator, get behind them, help them. And yes, the local elections do help. I mean, it's real hard to fix in a local election. Because you can't, because of the way it's done. But that's where you attack stuff, is at the local levels. And the local levels, you can do a lot of work, a lot of good damage in a good way. So support a friend or a person that that's running for a low-level office, because that's where you can get stuff done. But yeah, as far as the top of the parties, man, they have completely taken control of them from day one. And it wasn't hijacked. People say, well, the Republicans Party started off good, but it was hijacked. No, it wasn't. It was started that way in the first place. Did Abraham Lincoln have good intentions when he pushed the Republican Party? More than likely, yes. More than likely, yes. But again, it's the people who control people who are above the president's pay grade. Presidents are only puppets. They're not the know-all be-all. They're just puppets that they get elected to push an agenda. And a lot of times the president, they can't do what they want. A president can't say, come out tomorrow and say, oh, I want this to be done, and that's it. No, that's not how it works. Congress has to approve of it, has to go through the court system and all that to even push that. Now, a president can push an executive order, yeah, but it's got to filter through the courts. So if the executive order violates the Constitution, the Supreme Court immediately can shut it down. Or Congress themselves could override it. You know what I mean? So presidents don't have that much power as you think. You know what I mean? So even though we got Biden running out of control here, right? It's not just him, because we got the people in the Senate just about supporting him, the communists and all that. So there's a lot in the political world you got to understand with all that stuff, but I don't want to get off too that much on that. But I just wanted to go over this general idea, guys, and with the Illuminati and all that, taking control of this country, and all systems, all branches, basically, you know what I mean? The political, the schools, the education, churches, and they have done a mind job in this country. And I'm surprised I even myself, I have snapped out of it because I used to love science and all that stuff, and I was so much indoctrinated with that garbage. And I can't believe I used to defend some of that stuff. And even though I used to question evolution, though, I really did, because it didn't make sense, not even scientifically. So, but yeah, man, this is, yeah. And if you guys want to get that book, man, it's Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robeson. Good book. And again, these great books by David Carrico, The Great Seal of the Illuminati, what is the United States, whatever, but it's the same thing. The Egyptian Masonic Satanic Connections of Freemasonry, How to Witness to a Freemason. They got tons of other books too. They got so go check it out. That category, the library, in FOJCRadio.com. Yep, they fooled almost everybody. You're right, Danny Fisher. And guys, if you're watching this also Thursday on FOJC Radio, because this show gets broadcast over on FOJC Radio. Yeah, so I'm responding to people in the chat room from my end here. So yeah, and anytime this premieres on FOJC, guys, please engage in the chat room as they do here in the live show. It's pretty cool. So if you get a chance, check out Brian's new news show. He usually is at sometime on Thursdays. It's news that's not for everybody. And we got our show that is also the same day, later on that night. The Dan Bidondi show on our Rumble channel. And also, yeah, if you like the show, guys, you want to support our broadcast, we get the links in the description and also in the chat room. If you want to donate, that's great. And if you can't, just pray. Either way, pray. If you donate, pray. If you don't donate, pray. Yeah, that's what we need, donations mainly of prayers, because without that, we'd be in trouble. Spiritual attacks and everything else. So, yeah, and don't forget tomorrow night, the Midnight Ride with David Carrico and John Pounders at 11 p.m. Eastern. So please check them out. And that's, now you see TV. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in to the Illuminati Subversion Masters of Deception. And usually do a Q&A show, and I apologize I can't do that tonight. Because next week I'm going to Indiana, because I'm a pro wrestler, so they're flying me out to Indiana to do a wrestling show. So it's going to be pretty cool. And I won't be able to broadcast live next Friday. So next Friday, we're going to do a little marathon. I'm probably going to assemble some old John Hall stuff. The shows we did with Brother John Hall. Whatever. We're going to come up with something. Or I was even thinking of pre-recording the show with John Pounders, which I think that's where we're going to go. Because John Pounders is going to be on tonight, but he's actually traveling too. So we're going to try to get together early next week and do a show. And we're going to pre-record it and air it next Friday. And, yeah, after I get out of the wrestling show, I'll, if you guys are still on, I'll engage with you guys on the chat. But the week after, we will be back live, and, of course, and so, yeah, all that good stuff. So, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a good show. And, again, I apologize we can't get to the Q&A and all that stuff. Hang on a second. Just lost my place over here. So, hang on a second. Here we go. I got so much stuff on my OBS here. Where are we? Show keys, not show keys. Here we go. All right, guys. Let me just say hello again to everybody in the chat room. What's going on, guys? And Harold and Bill, thank you guys for moderating the chat. And we usually start at 9 o'clock. I understand that, but we started a half hour early because I do got to work to make up the hours for the time I'm going to be missing for next week. So. Just want to check the comments real quick, and yeah, good night, and God bless you too, guys, and thanks for the heads up. Always seeing you in the chat and when we on your show. Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, Joanne. Demand Indiana wants to meet. Yeah, thanks, Lester. Yeah, God bless you, Craig, and Candy, and everybody else. So. All right, guys, I love you all, and yeah, God willing, we'll see you next week, and hopefully it's me and John Pounders. So, yeah, and again, it's going to be pre-recorded, so, but we'll see you live in 2 weeks. So, love you all, God bless, shalom, and remember, you are the resistance.